This podcast episode may contain explicit material. Listener-viewer discretion is advised. The intention is not to offend, but to provide information. Proceed only if you are comfortable with potentially sensitive content.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with Sheriff Jason Ard. I'm Jason Ard. We started this podcast to educate everyone on the role of the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. We're about serving and protecting our community. On this podcast, we will tackle lots of topics. As we continue on with the Barbara Blount investigation, remind everybody on May the 2nd, 2008, which was a Friday afternoon, 58-year-old Barbara Blount went missing midday from her home at 35580 Highway 1036 in Holden. As we go through this case that, as you hear from in previous, and you'll continue to hear from other investigators that was involved in this case, it's very much became a personal interest to us because it's absolutely a day that we'll never forget. It's a lot involved in it. It's something that we continue to work on, and it has became very personal to each of us. One of the things that we've tried to do in these interviews is bring in people that you haven't heard from. And as you heard in some of these podcasts, or will be hearing from Detective Chuck Watts and Detective Kevin Harold and Stan Carpenter, who was the chief detective at the time. I just like to bring in a new perspective, new voices, and hear from things from other people, and hopefully it will spark some interest, get to the right person, and we know the person of interest is listening to this, and hopefully they understand that we won't stop. We will get you, and it is coming sooner or later. One of the things that I thought was very interesting, and he is my guest that is here with me today. I'm very excited for y'all to hear from him. But I have a young man with me who is one of our deputies that works here in our IT department, Mr. Derrick Bozeman. And Derrick's been with us how many years, Derrick?
15.
15 years. Derrick, we appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
And I know a lot of you say, well, who's Derrick? He's the IT guy. He's only been here 17 years, so obviously maybe not long enough to be a deputy during the Barbara Blount incident, because he was not a deputy. However, during this investigation, as the things unfolded, as we get to Barbara Blount's residence and she's missing, we also have a person calls in and they find Barbara Blount's car about a quarter mile away from her house on a hunting club road. And that person happens to be Mr. Derrick Bozeman. And at the time, I believe you were 18 years old.
Correct.
And still in high school.
Correct. Senior year.
You lived in that area, obviously.
Yes, sir.
And so Derrick was the person of interest
yes.
for a little while,
right.
For a short time, because, when you do these investigations, anyone that has any contact, especially those who made the last contact with the person that is missing or the person that is deceased, those people come of interest to us because we want to know what you know.
Right.
And so you found the vehicle and you became a person of interest, although you were a straight up witness and found the car. But I would love for you, Derrick, to kind of walk us through that day of an ordinary day for you, driving down the road. So kind of walk us through that day, which was on Friday, May the 2nd, 2008, several years ago, whenever Barbara Blount went missing.
Okay, yeah. So senior in high school, like we said, and just went to school that day. We were close to the end of the semester being in May, and I just remember, doing normal school things, and I had baseball practice that day. I don't remember, obviously, I believe our high school season would have been over, but probably practicing for fall ball, things like that. And, went to school. On my way home, get to the house, getting changed clothes, shower, all that to go see my girlfriend after, and wasn't long after that I found the car. So it's kind of how that day kind of went.
Yeah. So you was like driving by and see the car?
Correct. Yeah. So when I was on my way home, I didn't see it down the hunting club road. And I do have a nature of kind of looking down there because growing up right there near that little hunting club area, kind of camped in those woods, hunted a little bit. So, kind of common, just kind of glanced down the road down there, So, but I don't remember seeing it at all going home. It was when I left home heading to go pick up my girlfriend that I saw a car down the road, which seemed odd to me, simply because it's a hunting club road and the car wasn't parked on the gravel. It's actually off of the gravel, beyond the gravel, onto the not a ditch area, but in the wood line.
Well, it was very suspiciously parked.
Right.
I mean, when you see the pictures and you look at it, I mean, it's obvious that they're somewhat trying to hide the car.
Right.
And do a great job with it, but they if you can take a moment to try to get the image, and I mean, you were there in real life. I'm going off of the photo, but it wasn't that far off of the actual blacktop road, the main highway.
Correct. And
the hunting club road, which was a gravel road, went straight. Mm-hmm. And so the car pulls in, and obviously it goes to the right. However, they got to the right, but they go in to the right, and they drive straight into the woods. And obviously the terrain probably kept them, if I remember right, from getting so far into the woods.
Deep, correct.
But it was absolutely something that would catch your attention.
Oh, yeah. Like my initial thought was that it was like a crash or something based on the positioning of it. Because like you said, it wasn't far from the blacktop, and it's facing the tree line, and it's a small car. And the interesting fact, the other thing that caught my eye with it was the exact same make and model as my girlfriend's car. And same color, same everything.
So now we have the real inspiration behind you trying to help somebody.
Correct. Yeah, there it was.
I know this is not a laughing matter, but just who I am. I got to call it out, right? So, so you're going to your girlfriend's house. You see a car, which was reasonable. You kind of looks like her car. Obviously, maybe it's crashed. Maybe it's someone that needs help. Right. And so you stop.
Correct. I passed back by. I turn around at some point to come back to the hunt club road because it just didn't feel right. I was like, why is this car here? If it had been like a 4-wheel drive truck, something that's typically down that road for hunting season or something, it's not unusual. But this little car it seems strange. Yeah. So I just remember when I pulled off onto the hunting club road, I remember thinking like, what if this is something more? And not that I was trying to predict anything, but just simply, it didn't seem like a crash, but it was just odd placement. I had a weird gut feeling, so I ended up leaving there, didn't go down to it or anything, went and got my mom, which is literally right down the road. And I said, Mom, come look at this car. Something's not right with it, and I'm kind of nervous about it. I don't know what's going on. And that's when she got in the vehicle with me, and we drove back down there.
And then, so you drive back down there, and obviously you are standing on the side of the road.
Correct.
And so in this episode, you've heard me talk about myself and Detective Bourgeois went to a house. It was a home in that area of a couple who actually seen Barbara Blount on the side of the road with a young fellow with dirty blonde hair. And so this was one of those tips that kept resurfacing for years. And we had questioned this couple before, and we sometimes, anytime you do this, you want to try to investigate that tip till it either gets to a dead end or you obviously want to continue on. And this particular incident, for some reason, this thing was kind of still alive a little bit, had a little bit of life left in it. So myself and Bourgeois went to this couple, and I want to say it was about 3 years ago, around about, and we sat down with them, had a very long discussion, and may have talked to you a little bit about it. And at the end of the day, it came to the dead end of the fact that your mother kind of resembles Miss Barbara Blount.
At the time, I believe she did, yes, sir.
Yeah, and so it was, without a doubt, in our sake, we believe that was you and your mother, and which is expected because you're driving by and see somebody on the side of the road, you're going to understand that, they had dark hair. Yeah, they had glasses.
Right.
Yeah, they were of a certain age. around and about. And the color of the hair, the descriptions are usually going to be spot on to the fact of maybe not as far as a lineup spot on, right?
Right.
And so we felt pretty confident that it's you and your mother on the side of the road who actually called this in. So now y'all, once she got there, y'all looked around or whatever, then y'all called it in.
So when we got there, believing that it still may be a crash of some sort, me and her were going to walk down there, obviously knowing that she's a paralegal by trade. So she obviously knew, hey, don't touch the car, don't mess with kind of the crime scene per se. So we were going to walk down there, just make sure, kind of glance in, see if we see anybody that, hey, we need to hurry up and get like a Katie in here or something. So, and this is obviously right before we called the sheriff's office. As we're walking down, for whatever reason, she was kind of in front of me and I was more behind her. Well, I looked down and I happened to see there's a set of keys sitting in the gravel, and it's a little wooden like name tag on it, and it said Barbara. And I said, Mom, look. I remember she turned around and her face, like her expression, kind of freaked me out. And I just remember like reading her face, like she just looks at me and goes, we need to call the sheriff's office. Something's not right. So we didn't ever even go down to the car at this point yet. We didn't touch the keys. We immediately went right back up to my truck or her vehicle. I don't even remember which one we were in. And she called. So that's when the initial call came from us anyway.
Right. And, you know, it's first off, I mean, it's great that you found the car, right? And y'all understood what to do with the crime scene. So, but unfortunately for you, that turned into you being one of the primary suspects.
Right.
And so, I mean, and and you know this more now today than you did then.
Correct.
But that's how these investigations work, right? So now we want to know who Derrick Bozeman is. Right. You know, we want to know who your mother is.
Correct.
We want to know what kind of role, what was your relationship with Miss Barbara Blount?
Right.
And you know, those are the kind of things that I'm sure they asked you. So I'm going to interrogate you a little bit.
Please do.
So did you know Miss Barbara Blount?
I did not. So we did at one point go to the same church that she went to at Magnolia Baptist. But I couldn't have pointed her out in a crowd really until after all this case,
right?
Because I didn't know who she was.
But your mother kind of probably knew who she was.
She actually didn't either, because we only went there for a short time. But you know, again, we knew that we only really knew she went there really after all this, because again, we didn't really know her. I mean, you know.
So to clarify, when you were walking down the gravel road, y'all look and you see the keys. It says Barbara.
Right.
So what was your mom's thought process then? What did she tell you when you pointed that out to her? I mean, because when I heard you say it, I'm thinking, did she know Barbara? Did she know she was missing by then?
No, we didn't actually know her, and it was just odd because, like, why would the keys be left here if it's a crash, number one? Right. So we kind of, in our mind, knew, hey, this isn't a crash. Yeah. Why are the keys here? Why aren't they in the car or with a person? Doesn't make any sense. So I don't really know what her thought process was per se. I just remember reading her body language and like, hey, she thinks something's really wrong. I'm kind of realizing something's really wrong. So we just called because you know,
in her experience and background, you know, she has enough common sense and been around enough cases to know that, hey, something ain't right here.
Right.
And look, I had to ask you those questions because our listeners are investigating you too.
Absolutely.
Right now. They want to know. So leading up to, so back up. So after that, y'all call, sheriff's office gets there, you become primary suspect. Not primary, but you became a suspect. Right. And so kind of walk me through your next few days, few weeks, turned probably into months of how many times that you dealt with the sheriff's office. So and what all did you have to go through? I
remember immediately, at some point I did end up leaving to go pick up my girlfriend, and we ended up meeting the deputy back at my mom's house. And I remember, so just to clarify, I know that some of the episodes are going to speak about the weather. As soon as we basically started calling, that rain started coming, and it was rain, like very unusual rain. I mean, it was heavy. So I just remember distinctively, me and her just spoke about this the other day, that as soon as we were basically calling and heading back towards our house, it started raining. So by the time I got my girlfriend and we went back to my mom's to meet with the deputy, it was, you know, it had been raining for some time. So I remember him coming in. I don't know who he is.
He was a deputy or a detective?
He's just the deputy first. He took the original statement from me.
Okay.
He came in. He got 2 written statements from me and her. He had glasses, and I remember him wearing a trench coat because it was raining so hard. And what I found odd about the encounter, of course, I hadn't done any encounters with the sheriff's office before, but he was a little standoffish. He was very polite and very friendly, but it was more of a almost like he knew something else that he hadn't told us yet, and like he was kind of just being very selective on what he said to us. So I just remember me and Mom looking at each other like, he's acting a little odd, like what's going on? Mm-hmm. So he asked us for the statements. We wrote out the statements. We ended up handing him that, and then.
You remember the deputy's name?
I do not. I can.
You described somebody like Sonny McMorris wore glasses back then.
It was. I don't think it was Sonny. It was this guy. He was a younger deputy. I would say that he was, 130 pounds, soaking wet, wore glasses. I want to say dark hair, but it's been so long. But I know he doesn't work here, and he didn't work here, I don't think, at the time that I started. But again, I don't have a name to go off of.
Yeah, that's okay.
So
I'm sure I've read the name. It was so many boots on the ground that day, and so many different people doing things. Just when you describe something, in my mind is where it goes. Like, which one was that?
Right.
But anyway.
So after he collected the statement, he kind of just hung around with us, hanging out. I know now that because they're investigating, trying to figure out what's going on, and I just remember him hanging around, and eventually we ended up talking to detectives. I don't know who I spoke with detective-wise that day. All that kind of eludes me because it's been so long. But I do remember it was a day later, maybe after that, I don't know, they ended up organizing to meet up with me and my mom at her place of employment. And it was Detective Chucky Watts and Kevin Harrell. And they come out, and first time I'd ever really remember speaking to them, and they actually collected a DNA sample from me. Obviously I was nervous. I'm 18. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I'd already shown and spoke to my mom of interest in law enforcement. So, I was kind of excited as far as, kind of see how the process worked, but I was also a little nervous because okay, this is kind of crazy. I realized at this point that, I'm kind of a suspect in this. I'm thinking I'm just trying to be a witness, and they're collecting DNA from me. So it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Right.
So that's kind of all my encounters that I remember from that.
Yeah.
As far as speaking with
them.
Well,
look, you're 18 years old. That stuff's gonna make you nervous. But but you've told me more than once that kind of inspired you.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be where you're at today.
Yeah, I was very much leaning towards a career in law enforcement, and then of course all this kind of happened, and it spiked my interest even more because of course I want to know what's going on because I'm local to the community where she's missing from, and
right.
So that on top of I was already interested, so yeah, it kind of fanned the flame towards a career in it.
Right. It's crazy how things unfold sometimes.
It is.
But look, with Livingston as back, if you go all the way back in the early 90s and before then, it was a very rural area. That area up there is still somewhat rural, and as we have grown tremendously from then, but you were in a area where you knew everybody. You kind of knew of everybody.
Roughly, yes.
And so it would absolutely spark my interest even more if it was someone that lived down the street from me.
Right.
Or I passed their house every day.
Correct.
Just you're reminded of that every time you go in that area.
Every time I go there now.
Yeah. Oh, I don't go up big that area, Big Gravel, all that area up there. When you get into the North Holden area, you think of Barbara Blount. That's what I think of.
Absolutely.
And so, we've worked so hard and continue to work on this case every day that we can, and the tips continue to come in, and so. So Derrick, being involved in something like that, and I know you kind of already may have touched on this, but for the listeners out there, what is your takeaway from the Barbara Blount case? If you wanted to just give us, what do you want people to remember about this?
One of the things that struck me was the fact that how the community, they came together in that time of crisis on, just last minute in the midst of all that storm. I can remember that very day, obviously the sheriff's office doing what we always do here, but also, again, this people just showing up. I don't even know where all of them came from. I just remember seeing all these people in vehicles, and people were just searching through the woods, through the rain, wading through water. And then, of course, the next day, the same thing. Like, people were getting in kayaks and boats and just searching. And to me, it was overwhelming to see the response, of our community together to come, and try and search for Miss Barbara,
Yeah.
And it also, too, the other thing was, it led me to a point of really wanting to get to know who Miss Barbara was, because, again, like you said, I drove by her house all the time, never really knew the woman, but, I was like, I felt for the family and for her, and I wanted to kind of, see the community, they kind of responded that same way of trying to kind of get to know her and see if, help locate her.
Yeah. Well, I commend you for what you've done. Now, just to clarify, and I don't know the answer to this because you've been here, you said 15 years. And so have you had the opportunity to work on this case at all since you've been here?
I have personally stayed away from the case. And the whole sole reason was I wanted to make sure that, one, the case would be untainted in any way. Not that I would taint it, obviously, on purpose, but I didn't want anyone to ever be able to say that a potential suspect was ever involved in any of the investigation. So I've purposely deviated away from it because I want closure for the family. And, obviously I would love for her to be located.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, we all would.
Right.
And eventually that's going to happen.
Right.
So, it's one of those things that I know that I wanted to know the answer because I've never asked you that question before.
Right.
And I really didn't know what the answer was, but I just wanted you to answer that, especially for, our listeners. And look, this case, and I want to continue to say things that's going to sound like a broken record because it needs to be heard over and over and over. We want your tips. We want you to call in. We want you to confide in us if you have any type of information about Barbara Blount. We want it. We want you to work with us. Look, Mr. Woody Overton has gotten involved and helped us with this. He was actually the detective back then when this case was going on. And, if you don't feel comfortable talking to law enforcement, he's got a tip line out there. You can download our app. If you don't have it, you can call in and submit a tip through our app. You can call us. If there's anything you know about this case, we ask that you call in, let us know, send us a tip on Miss Barbara Blount. And again, this happened on May the 2nd, 2008. It was a Friday afternoon. Miss Barbara Blount was 58 years old. She went missing midday from her home on Highway 1036 in Holden. We asked that you think about that time frame. If you was in the area, maybe you passed a vehicle, maybe you overheard a conversation, whatever it might be, help us to solve this case. And for the person that did this and knows what happens, just understand this. We're not going to give up. And I know this has got to bother you in some kind of way. And we're coming after you with everything we have, and we're going to solve this case. And I feel very confident about it, and we're not going to give up. Mr. Bozeman, thank you for coming on, being brave to come on and speak about this. It's one of them things that when as this case unfolds even more, I just feel like the more we can have different people that were involved that will come and share their story, maybe this will spark something with somebody.
Hope so.
So, we can't give up. We're not going to give up. And for that, I appreciate you giving us the time.
Absolutely.
And interviewing and doing what you do. And thank you for being part of our team. You in the IT department and do a lot of good work for us. And we appreciate that. So with that, that'll be our episode for today. And with Behind the Scenes with Sheriff Jason Ard, we appreciate all of you listening. Like I said earlier, if you don't have our LPSO app, please download that app. Share, follow everything you can. LPSO social media, Jason Ard's social media page. We have so many avenues that you can listen, connect, and contact. With that, in Livingston Parish, as always, we love our schools, we love our churches, and we absolutely believe in the Second Amendment. Be blessed and be safe.